Meanwhile, standing near the cross of Jesus were his mother and his mother's sister, Mary the wife of Clopas, and Mary Magdalene. When Jesus saw his mother and the disciple whom he loved standing beside her, he said to his mother, "Woman, here is your son." Then he said to the disciple, "Here is your mother." And from that hour the disciple took her into his own home. Tonight is Maundy Thursday, and it's been something of a strange night. I, like so many people within our church communities, feel like I'm in the right place and not in the right place at the same time. I'm in the right place because we should all be indoors, helping to prevent the spread of the coronavirus, saving the lives of those who might end up with severe symptoms, and doing what we can to help ease the stress on the National Health Service. Yet, at the same time, I feel like I should really be in church. Right now, I should be sitting in a chapel before the Blessed Sacrament, being with Jesus and showing my solidarity with him and my love for him by praying with him and trying to stay awake. If the coronavirus pandemic has taught us churchgoers anything, it is that we've been remarkably resilient and adaptable, learning about new means of, to use a phrase I don't really care for that much, of being church. We've found we don't need buildings to be a church, and clergy and lay ministry teams and vergers all over the country have set things in motion to allow people to continue to worship. But, and this is a significantly large but, deep down we miss our buildings, we miss our liturgies, and above all, we miss our contact with each other. Our worship is principally communal and public, and online services just aren't quite the same. So in many respects, we're very attached to the ways in which we worship and the places where we worship. It's important to realise that our relationship with buildings is a natural thing, and it's certainly not a bad thing either. Throughout the Bible, we see people worshipping God in specific places and seeking these specific places out, places of significance and places of meaning. I think, though, that it's necessary for us to think about how extraordinary our current circumstances are, and the fact that they are a temporary measure. Things won't be like this forever, and we'll be able to return to our familiar and much-loved places of worship. In our reading from John's Gospel this evening, we saw Jesus entrusting his mother to the beloved disciple, usually identified as John, and Jesus then entrusting John to his mother. Jesus' final act on the cross is one of love and compassion. His dying wish is for his mother to be protected and looked after. It is hard to imagine what Mary must have been going through. Many years ago, when Jesus had been presented in the temple, Simeon had predicted the sorrow that she was now to face, and the painful, agonizing death of her only son was happening before her very eyes. This episode has often been interpreted as Jesus entrusting the church to his apostles and his apostles to the church. Until now, I've not been particularly keen on this interpretation. I've always felt that Jesus' main concern is looking after his mother, who would have been vulnerable without a guardian. But I said until now, and the reason why I say until now is that I think in these strange and turbulent times, when the church is bereft of its buildings and its normal forms of worship, God has entrusted his church to the community as a whole, beyond its buildings, and God has also entrusted the care of the community to the church. Just as Jesus sought to protect his mother from harm by placing her in the care of his close friend John, the church has been entrusted by God to be deep within our communities. Like everyone else and every other organisation, we are deeply affected by the restrictions on movement, but God is with us and has ensured that we are looked after spiritually, and the response that individuals have made has been amazing. At the same time, John was entrusted to Mary, and that we as the people of God are helping to protect the community by moving and adapting to virtual and online services, of being church outside of our walls. It is a sacrifice we're not simply being forced to make, but a sacrifice that we are being called to make. So the right place for us to be is in our homes, watching online vigils on YouTube or attending church on Zoom. It is the right place to be because that is the place we have been called to be, not just by the civil authorities, but by church and by God. As Peter said during the Transfiguration, "It is good, Lord, to be here." By entrusting Mary and John to each other at the foot of the cross, Jesus emphasized the importance of love for one another. During this crisis, the only way we can express our love for one another is by staying at home, helping to prevent the spread of the disease and saving lives. The anthem that has been sung most often during the washing of the feet for many centuries begins with the words, "God is love, and where true love is, God himself is there." Although we may not be in church, we are with Christ, because there is love in our homes, love for our community, love for our church, and love for our God.